So, for example, like one of the things I could think about, they kind of just let go, or the fact that most things are broken. This is what I mean when I talk about the mindset of not not talking, like not trying to do something about it. How we have things like the American prison system that are quite broken. You have the American prison system that is quite broken. You have all these things that are actually pretty damn broken in the world, but people don't really do a lot of things about them. This is exactly why I want to get rid of this kind of mindset. It's the kind of mindset that schools kind of end up kind of maybe not direct, well, maybe accidentally implementing when they, and that's a problem. That's kind of a serious problem. Because you end up with all these people that, you know, and they don't, and the stupid thing is, right, for all these poor people, is that they don't really go out there and say anything because they've been suppressed so much by teachers. They say even the slightest thing, and they get suppressed. They get Then what's up happening is you end up with these people. They don't really do anything. Like in society, they don't really like do anything. There's some crazy stuff going on. There's some crazy problems going on. The world is breaking around. The world is becoming stupid, and they don't really do anything. And that's really sad. Where you compare it to other more progressive nations, and you realize that like these people, like they actually do something about it. Like they don't just do what's normal. They don't just leave things that are breaking down, leave them breaking down further, leaving them. They're literally complete rubbish. They're breaking down, and they don't just leave them there. They don't just do that, right? They're not like that. Like these people are a lot more progressive. They don't just leave it there. Like, oh yeah, this thing's breaking down. Well, whatever, just leave it alone. They don't think like that, and that's one of the things that's really stupid. Because when you just think like that, then things just kind of break down further and further and further, and things get worse and worse and worse and worse, and then really nothing happens, and that's really stupid. And well, so you get the point of when I say that, how silly it is that keeps happening, how all these dumb things happen, all these stupid things keep happening, and people just leave it alone. They just kind of stop fixing problems and just kind of whatever, let it go. That's not responsible. That's not my problem. That's the government's fault. Oh, That's the government's problem. That's not my problem. The government broke this system. It's their fault. And then you end up with these people not doing anything about it, and then nothing gets done in the end. And if those people were a little more progressive, they actually realized, oh, this system is awful. This prison system is awful. This school system is awful. And they actually went there and did something about it. They actually went there and got out of the way, spent hours of their time, maybe like a month or a week, trying to do something about it. Actually, then things would get done. Then people go, okay, a lot of people really want something to change. We actually need to go out there and change something because it's stupid. And if the people, if everybody, all of society wanted to improve, it was kind of like a very Star Trek like society where instead of just kind of caring only about people, yourself and that kind of stuff, then people were a lot better. They actually cared less about themselves, and they cared more for everybody. So they actually went there and worried about not just them but other people. They worried about, oh, how is this going to affect someone else? Or how is this going to affect this person? Oh, I should really do something really nice to help other people, and potentially, have this kind of society where everyone wants to improve in some way. So you don't end up with this stuff where you have people just all the time with problems happening, dumb things happening, things breaking down, things blowing up, and they just don't care. Like they just go, whatever, it's not my problem. And if they actually went there and actually said, this is really stupid, I want the world to be a better place, and they actually went there and they actually, everyone think that they should actually do something to make the world a better place. And again, this is super Star Trek like, then the world would probably be a significantly better place than it is now. But instead, they don't do that. Instead, people just don't care. They just go, oh, that's not my problem. And the fact that they say that, then nothing happens. And then you end up with all these people in schools, they don't really get taught how to do anything. Like, they don't really get taught, for example, how to, one of the examples, I'm pretty sure, is they really just don't get taught very, very much. They don't really get taught about life, so they don't really know what the hell they're doing when it comes to life. So they're out there, and even those basic things like how to have emotional intelligence, or how to, the more basic social skills, all these things that we're probably going to apply, how to connect with people that is part of social, all these things that are probably going to be extremely useful in one point or the other to that person, they just don't care because some random information, like some random language, like French or Spanish, is more important. That to some people it may be important. To some people they may really like to learn about French and think that French is amazing. But because some people, because they're forcing people, but to most other people, or quite a lot of other people, they're probably not going to like it. They probably think it's really boring. Or in fact, because they're being forced to do it, they may never actually do it in the real world because, if for anything else in the real world, because they just hate it. Because schools force them to do it instead of making them potentially like it. And in some cases, they may actually end up liking it, but generally because they've been forced to do a subject they absolutely hate, like to their heart's content, that they're probably never going to do it. Like they're probably never going to do it. They're probably never going to have a career. So essentially, what you've done is you've essentially wasted their life. You've made them essentially hate a subject. So so any big chance you had of them doing French, for example, or they become a French translator or anything like that, has now gone down to probably a lot less because that person now hates that subject. They hate French. And who knows? Maybe some of those people might discover French again. I think it's great, but generally the chance of that happening has gone down quite substantially, just because. And that's really the whole thing, that's really the whole point, really, is the fact that the chance of that person actually doing any of those things has now decreased. And that really sucks. So essentially that person is now never going to become anything, they're probably never going to use that, never going to use those skills. Okay? So it really is like, and it's also stupid how schools generally also imply that there's only one way to go through life. And I think this is actually really gross because there are so many different ways. For example, they go, you have to get a job, you have to go to college, you have to do this. And that's really wrong because there are so many ways of going through life. You can get a job, you can go to college, you could start your own little online business, you could start your own physical business if you really want to. You can do all that stuff. So what I'm trying to imply, right, is that it isn't just that, and this isn't just like, oh hey, just you have to do this, because life isn't like that. Life generally doesn't work like that. There's always going to be, to do pretty much anything, there's always going to be like hundreds of outcomes you could do. There generally won't be just, oh yeah, this is literally the only way you could possibly do this. There are very, very few things in life that there's only one way you could possibly do that. That is very unlikely. Sure, there may be a way that's more convenient, but only having one way is very unlikely. It's probably, it is extremely uncommon. I very rarely find things like that are just like where you literally have to do things in one way. Like they're so rare that I don't even know. And then there's also the other fact, it's kind of a thing that happens in schools, and this is actually quite a serious issue, is the fact that schools end up making people not like learning, essentially. They end up, all this being forced to do things that they hate, essentially, ends up making them not like learning. And then what ends up happening with them when they don't like learning like this is that they're probably not going to learn many things after school. They're probably not going to be going out there and reading books or doing other things just for the sake of doing them, basically. Like the chance of that happening probably going to be virtually non-existent, of them just flat out going out there and just voluntarily on their own, no forcing. Their dad, their mom isn't forcing them. Just read a book just because they want to. Probably not going to happen. And that's just one example, because they saw education as a chore, not something that's quite fun to do. And it's stupid how schools don't do this. And I understand that schools is very serious and isn't just designed to be like a little playground where you play. At least at a older age, it isn't designed where to be like that. But at the same time, you think about it, like it isn't designed to be a playground, but learning with making things fun is very, very important. For example, you think that all the time your memories, you probably remember your fun memories, but all the annoying memories of you, like, for example, getting annoyed at a game or something like that, you probably don't really remember those unless it's was really crazy and you went totally mad. But even then, you might actually not remember it. And this is because the memory, the human brain just doesn't like to memorize things that are essentially, it doesn't like to memorize bad memories. It doesn't like to get to really, memorize those. Where good memories, it does that. So if you make almost every memory in school, instead of people going to classes like, oh my gosh, this is so boring, and because it is boring, it's just some boring literature, some stuff they hate. If they actually made the lesson interesting, fun, where they went to the lesson, oh, this is going to be very, like, imagine, look at the difference. This is going to be a very fun lesson. They actually went in the lesson and had fun. They were laughing in the lesson. They would learn more. Like, they would actually learn more. They would retain that stuff for more. That would be make everything way, way, way better. But for some reason, schools don't do this, and it's a bit weird to me, because it's like you just have like an opportunity to just make everyone learn more stuff, but instead you decide not to do it. That is a bit weird to me, because it's like, and this really just shows how, I'm pretty sure this has been around since schools invented this idea that obviously with make education fun, people are going to learn more, but it's still not applied. And I think the only places maybe applied in is maybe Finland, because I think Finland is like one of the countries that is just, it obviously has an amazing education system. It's phenomenal beyond belief almost. It's like, you look at our, like, countries should look at their systems and be like, yeah, we are truly crappy in comparison. Like, basically because they are, their systems are pretty awful. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed this part too. I'm actually going to set up all this stuff and do it all off camera. So.